We get distracted by these issues that people think are of what really is of serious consequence, and yet the entire time they're completely off base in terms of where they need to be. Where we need to be right now is focusing on the very conglomerates of society that are forcing our economy literally into the ground.
Non-elected people that are basically controlling everything.
Yeah, and who bigger than BlackRock? BlackRock is the biggest asset managing corporation in the world with $9 trillion under management. Do you know how big that is in comparison to the world economy? They would be the fourth richest country on earth right now behind us, China, and Japan. That's how rich it is. And what are they doing? They're buying up all the homes in the United States. How do I know this? Because I'm in real estate. And I can assure you that they are planning to own more than half. At this point right now, the trajectory suggests that within 7 years, they will own 60% of the single-family homes in this country. Our country will collapse economically if that happens. People will never be able to build generational wealth, ever.
Well, that's the purpose. The purpose is you will all have nothing, and you will like it, and you will be served, and you will serve your lords.
Just as our friend of the show, Carol Roth, who, yes, is a Republican, even though she doesn't like to say that she is, but nevertheless, somebody who is on the political right has made very clear that you will own nothing and you will like it. And it's because of companies like BlackRock that are destroying our country. Now, why is it that no one except
talks about that?
Talks about it.
Could it be that they're suckling at the teat?
Could very well be. But apparently there is one person who's running for president of the United States right now, although the Democratic Party would have you believe that this person is not running for president.
We'll talk about that too, because it bothers me to no end that they're not giving him security.
Colin, without further ado, please cue up the video. RFK is talking about this.
He's calling out
BlackRock to their face.
The what we call, it's part of, at this point, it's part of like the deep state we're talking about.
Yeah, this is definitely some serious business.
Yeah.
Very much.
When you have that much power.
Power to actually move countries economically.
Well, that's the thing. It's problematic.
Very much so.
The book I'm listening to now is it's called American Exception, and it's extremely intense. It's very upsetting. There's some seriously bad things.
All right. I will play it.
The thing that kicked off more than any other thing the great prosperity in this country was the GI Bill and the bills after World War II that made it easy for GIs to buy houses, to get into houses with low mortgage payments. So what I'm going to do as soon as I get in there is I'm going to start working on the tax code to make it very, very unprofitable for these big companies to come in and buy, millions of houses. And they shouldn't be, our children should not have to compete against these giant, billion, and of course the way they do it is because they have better access to capital, because they have lower interest costs. So they, of course, can go and take all the land in our country. And by the way, there's now all kinds of articles that show that the best farmland in Europe is Ukraine. And our arrangement with Ukraine is we're going to give you all this money. You have to pay it back. And the way you pay it back is through austerity programs, beginning with something they call the land market, which forces all the farmers in Ukraine essentially to sell their land to BlackRock. So, the Ukrainian people, 400,000 of them have died to protect their land from the Russians. Their land is being taken from them by BlackRock. The system is rigged, and it's rigged. Thomas Jefferson's vision of our country was, he said, the only way democracy would survive is if it was based on widespread diverse ownership of land by tens of thousands of independent freeholds owned by families, each with a stake in our system. And we cannot afford to have a single mega corporation essentially own all of they're buying all the farmland too. to own all our single-family homes, and our kids are having to compete against these behemoths because they have those low costs. I'm going to change the tax code to make it very, very difficult for them to compete with our children.
So there you go. And that is
Him calling out BlackRock.
And no one else is doing this.
No.
And you're not going to see any other candidate, especially somebody like Vivek, who apparently is now becoming the darling replacement for Trump should he fall. And Trump is not going to say it. And you better believe Joe Biden is never going to say any such thing.
No. Well, no. I'm scared for RFK. Like, and again, he's not my candidate. I don't endorse him or whatever, but I do think he should be getting security. It bothers me immensely that Joe Biden refuses to give him security. Joe Biden has the authorization to grant security to RFK, and he refuses to do so.
Yes, and that is something that
I have a problem
deny.
with that.
Whatever the motivations are, whether it's deliberate or it's simply haphazard on his part, there is no question that the President of the United States has the authority to issue Secret Service detail to whomever he gives discretion to. There is a reason he has given Secret Service detail to his son Hunter, which in my humble opinion is ridiculous. But nevertheless, if you're going to give it to Hunter Biden, give it to RFK. Like, this is crazy. And everyone knows that he is a target.
Oh,
he's a Kennedy.
I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, I'm concerned for Cornel West, and
I would be concerned for him as well. The only difference between Cornel right now and RFK is that Cornel is not outwardly. I just, like as I said, only RFK is talking about BlackRock. Now, that doesn't mean that Dr. West is not going to eventually talk about it.
He talks about the structures of the whole thing.
100%.
That is
100%.
basically BlackRock is just one tentacle of what he talks about. So yeah, he does talk about the entire capitalist system crushing everybody. That's the premise of his entire campaign.
And here's another crossover. Good friend of the show, Metalopoli, who is on the political right. BlackRock and Vanguard should not even exist. I agree. They shouldn't. Private equity firms only exist to bundle upon bundle upon bundle rich people's money so they can control everything.
But what we were just talking about, Metalopoli, you'll be pleased to know then, I've seen a few things done, interviews done with people that are island people in Maui. And they're really coalescing together as an island, and they are going to stand firm. And they are, I mean, from some of the people I saw, they'll kill people before they'll give up their land.
That's also,
like, they're not going down with it. They will fight.
They will. And
a lot of people there don't even want to be a state.
Yeah, and it's the similar sentiment of people who are in Puerto Rico, and they feel the same way.
Yeah, but they're not a state. Hawaii
That's what I'm saying. That's one of the reasons they don't want to be a state.
Yeah.
They don't want to be controlled entirely by the U.S. government, which is what is going on right now. And listen, there's a lot of failures on the part of President Biden, but the fact that a state of emergency still has not been declared on the island of Maui, or even the whole state of Hawaii.
Well, but here's,
to make sure that they do not allow a systemic takeover of these people's land.
They need to put a moratorium on like any of that. But the people aren't going to tolerate there. I feel like they are getting themselves together and ready for a fight. But I would suggest everybody, Kim Iverson did a really good interview with a gentleman who lives in Maui. He's on the south part of the island as opposed to where Lahaina was on the west. And one of the things that they talked about is that they're really now suffering economically because everyone's telling people not to go to Maui, when in fact, other than the area around Lahaina, the entire island is open for business. And now you've got all these layoffs going on and all these serious issues. So I just want to say, like, and Kim made a very good point, which is it's kind of hard to not feel bad about going there on a vacation when you know that there's so many people suffering. But more and more people are getting laid off. All the hotels, like a whole bunch of hotels and restaurants just laid off all these local people. So even though Lahaina is in a very bad way, and we should definitely support them and do everything we can to support their fight against disgusting greed, we could still be supporting other people in Maui. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know that they want to be declared a total disaster. Like, that's part of it too, is that now they're having economic repercussions.
And that is part and parcel when it's like dealing with a bull market versus a bear market or a stable market, there are times where you need the government and there are times where you don't need the government. Just like there are times to raise taxes and to lower taxes. This is one of those situations where the federal government absolutely needs to step in and help the people of Hawaii, particularly the people of Lahaina on the island of Maui. They are suffering. They are going to suffer for quite some time. The death toll is now approaching 120. There are still in excess of about 1,000 people that are not accounted for.
And at this point, unaccounted is presumed dead. At this point,
that's bad. And so the fact that there are these vultures that are allowed, and again, vulture capitalism, which is what we have. So when people who, and Stephen was bringing this up before about how there are a lot of good, like-minded people that happen to want to be in the GOP. That's because a lot of people that are young that want to be in the GOP are actually a supporter of a true free market capitalist system. And I can understand that, but we do not have that, not anything close to it.
No.
And the reason I support a hybrid system is because unless you have a mix of capitalism with socialism, it will inevitably lead to a vulture capitalist system, which is what we have now, which is in turn a form of fascism.
Y'all, we're there.
The corporate state owns our lives.
If we can't, we have to protect the people in Lahaina. Like, that's really important from what is going to happen, because Lahaina is the original capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Like, there's a lot of history there. And because of that, there's a lot of generations there that have been there since before it was a state. And the idea of somebody like BlackRock coming in there and taking what's theirs is just completely unacceptable. And this is where we want our government to step in. This is what I want my government to do. I don't want them policing the streets of regular people. I want them protecting people when corporate predators are going to be coming in and stealing their land.
Remember, the Democratic Party primary system is completely rigged because it has super delegates. At the end of the day, it has a fail-safe system that if any candidate were to ever get as close as Bernie Sanders got in 2016, they will simply do what is necessary for the interests of who runs the party financially. And BlackRock has a lot to do with that. And there is a website that you could look up that shows you who BlackRock donates to. Now, they do donate almost evenly to the Democrats and Republicans.
Absolutely.
Which means you hedge your bets. Just whichever side the pendulum's swinging.
That's most industries. That's the same as the military-industrial complex. That's the same as big pharma. They're all pretty equal in terms of, the only one is, I think a lot of Dems will say, well, I don't take NRA money. Kudos to you.
So when people are out there freaking out and saying the most disparaging things about RFK, because they don't like his position on vaccines, because they don't like his position on Israel. There are a lot of things that you
I don't like his position on Israel.
I don't like his position on either, and I don't like his position on healthcare. He says everything right about healthcare except having a universal system.
Yeah, and, we're not supporting. Like, it's not like we're proponents or endorsing RFK.
But the fact that he is the one person who is running for president saying we have to deal directly with BlackRock, this is what is destroying our future. How in the hell is he the only person who's saying this? And for the people that are trying to cut him up at the knees?
Like, we need that voice, regardless of whether or not you would vote for him for president. It's an important voice to be heard. So the idea to stifle a voice that's speaking out against, I know, but to stifle a voice that's speaking out against, you know, corporatism and empire is really just stupid and counterproductive. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.